Hey fishing friends, so today we're going to take a boat tour of the 2021 Tracker Pro Team 175 TXW. That's the boat I chose as my first bass boat, and I'm really happy with it. I was somebody who didn't have the resources to go get myself a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 top of the line bass boat, but I'll tell you what, for a third of that I think I did pretty good. I think there's a reason that these are one of the most popular bass boats in the country, and so I wanted to take you on a tour of it. So I got a 2021 model, and it is a 17.5-foot boat. I think it's actually 17 feet 7 inches. 17.5 feet is where the 175 comes from, the Pro Team 175. You can also get the Pro Team, I think, 195, which is 19.5-foot boat. So I got the 17.5-foot boat, and I got the 60 for the horsepower on the Mercury motor. And I'll tell you what, the 60 horse definitely is enough, but it's not everything. So I'll tell you what, the boat moves, it moves fine, it drives fine, the motor is quiet, and I can go 30 miles an hour, which is plenty fast enough. But when it comes to tournament fishing, you know, I've got guys with 200s, 250s on the back of their boats going by me like I'm standing still. So if you're looking for speed, you're going to want to get a model that allows you the ability to have a much bigger motor on the back. But if you're a weekend warrior like me who only tournament fishes sometimes, then I'll tell you what, you can't beat the 60 horse. Number one, for the price, it doesn't cost $1 billion. Number two, 30 miles an hour, you really don't need to go much faster than that at any point, unless you're tournament fishing, like I said, in which case you may want to be ripping across big lakes and taking long runs. And I'll tell you what, I fished some tournaments and watched guys blast by me and wish I had a bigger motor at some point during the tournament. But I'll tell you what, it's definitely sufficient, it performs well, and man is it quiet. These new Mercury motors are super quiet. So anyway, let's take a look around the boat. We'll see what we got. So let's take a look at the boat, and we'll start off with a general walk around so you can get a look at her. So let's start at the front of the boat. I suppose I should start by saying again that the boat is about 17.5 feet long, and its towing length is 22 feet 8 inches, and its storage length, if you have a garage you need to fit it in, is 20 feet 3 inches. So starting with the trailer has the breakaway feature here, where you pull this pin and you can fold the neck in so you can take this amount of length off your storage if you need to fit it in a garage. And the trailer I'm super happy with. It's really nice trailer, powder coated, and it's got some kind of Galva shield on it that is supposed to help with corrosion resistance. It seems to be made well. I haven't had any problems with it as of yet. I removed the removable nylon transom tie downs, and I upgraded to stationary retractable tie downs, and I like those a lot better. I'll have a video on that you can see for the installation of those retractable tie downs. And the trailer came with a full-size spare that fits nicely under there and is not in the way at all. And I have not had a problem with the winch. I did upgrade the existing trailer jack, and I installed a Fulton XLT heavy-duty jack. One of the other upgrades I did to the boat was I added a keel shield to my keel to protect it. So the reason I installed that was because I beach my boat all the time. Pretty much every time I go fishing, once I take it off the trailer, I have to beach it to go park my truck, and then when I'm leaving, I have to beach it so I can get out and go get my truck. So, you know, a lot of times I'm beaching it on a beach, which isn't a big deal unless it's, you know, really rocky. But sometimes you don't have a nice, soft, friendly spot where to beach it. You know, and you're beaching on rocks or a ramp of any of different kinds of materials or what have you. So I put on a keel shield. Here's what it looks like. So the keel shield extends 8 feet underneath, and it comes to about 6 inches up above the resting water line. So when I'm gliding into someplace to beach the boat, it protects the keel from damage on rocks and whatnot when you do that. I also added adhesive reflectors around the trailer in different locations, just to have as many reflectors on it as possible. And I also added gator grip steps, adhesive steps, and I put them on the wheel wells just in case, you know, anybody's stepping on it, especially a kid or something getting up into the boat, to protect the wheel well. Also on the trailer, you will see that I installed the TH Marine Ultimate LED trailer kit. So what I have is 6 light strips on my trailer, 2 40-inch ones up front. There are 2 20-inch ones in the middle section, and 2 more 20-inch ones on the back section. And I have them installed on the inside because I just wanted them to be protected from anybody. Like if I put them on the top of the rail here, I figured they might get stepped on, and if I put them on the outside of the rail here, I figured they might be prone to being bumped into and damaged. So I went with the inside rail, and they seem to work perfectly. For me, it was a must because I do so much night fishing, and I do a lot of fishing in areas that aren't well lit. Some of the places I go have lighted boat ramps, other places there's no light anywhere, and so to have the ability to back your trailer down and have it lit up like a runway makes it so much easier to load your boat in the middle of the night when you want to put it back on the trailer, or in the morning if it's still dark out. And it's a really nice thing to have if you do a lot of night fishing. So let's take a look at the boat, and I guess we'll go from front to back. So the Tracker TXW Protein 175 comes with a 45-pound thrust Minn Kota Edge trolling motor. It's not the best trolling motor in the world, but I'll tell you what, like everything else on this boat, it does the job, it gets the job done, and it works fine. It moves this boat perfectly fine, and I guess I have no complaints about it. Has a strap down and a bracket for the rope handle. It's got 5 speeds, and it's got a direction indicator on top, and it comes with a recessed foot pedal tray. It comes with a constant function where you can turn it on and it's constantly going, or of course you can put it on the momentary function where you just control it on and off with the foot switch. It's got 5 speeds. It's got a couple of cup holders in the foot tray. And up front we have an engine trim control in the bow, so I can raise or lower my engine from up in the front of the boat, which is terrific. Have a navigation light port up here and a convenient step pad here for when you're jumping from your truck or your trailer onto the boat or from the ground, and you can step here and you don't mar anything up. Now on the front deck, I've done a couple upgrades. You'll see that I removed the bungee type rod holders that originally were on the boat, and I installed boat buckle rod buckles here. And these are a terrific addition. Anything you want to put up front here on the bow, on the port or the starboard side, you can secure down with these rod buckles. Again, there's a video on the installation of the rod buckles. There are 4 cleats on the boat. Two on the bow. And 2 on the stern. So for seats on the boat, I have 2 full-size seats that came with the boat, and I also have 2 casting seats. I put together some casting seats. I want to say the seat cushion was probably about 25 or 30 bucks, and I want to say that the post, the telescoping post for those was probably around 50 bucks. So I think for about 75, 80 bucks each, I got 2 casting seats. So let's talk about storage in the bow of the boat. The Pro Team 175 TXW comes with 2 rod lockers that accommodate 8 rods each. They are locking, so you can secure them with a key. Those are the rod tubes. And now I've heard some people have complaints about the rod lockers on these boats as far as their ability to store rods. You know, I don't have a problem with them. In the brochure it said that they accommodate rods up to 7 feet long, but I'll tell you what, I have rods up to 7'6" and they fit perfectly. You know, I don't know how these compare to rod lockers in other boats, but I have 0 problem with them. As long as you carefully put your rods in and carefully take them out, you know, I don't have any issue with them. So you have your port rod locker, and again you have a locking rod locker on the starboard side of the boat, and again each of them can accommodate 8 rods using the tubes. Now of course you could fit a bunch more rods in there if you doubled up putting them in the tubes, but I don't like to do that. Number one, I don't want to break any of my eyelets or lose any insert rings, and I don't have really any need to have more than 16 rods on my boat. So those are the rod lockers. So let's take a look at the main storage compartment on the boat, and it is on the bow deck, and it is right between the 2 rod lockers. It is lockable, and it's pretty good size. So it comes with 2 or 3 of these dividers. I only use 1, and there's slots where you can put them in different locations throughout the compartment depending on what you're storing in here. It has these side compartments for longer items. Storage areas up front. Couple of cup holders. Also, you'll notice inside my storage compartment, I have LED lighting. I installed LED lighting in my rod lockers, in my main compartment, in my cooler, in my live well, and on my deck. So we'll check out the ones on the deck. So I've got 2 strips on each side of the bow deck. I've got 1 strip on each side of the aft deck. And I've got accent lighting under my seats. Those things are great. I'll take a look. I control those by a dimmer switch that I installed on the console. And I can dim them down to a very low level if I want just a little bit of light, or I can turn them all the way up if I want a lot of light. And I'll tell you what, boy, when I have those on full blast, they are bright. Now, I realize those don't look too bright in the daytime, but this is what they look like at night. And so I'll tell you, those light up your boat big time. I absolutely love them. Again, I do a whole lot of night fishing. Now, I don't fish with these lights on, especially with them on full blast, because they're so bright. You can't really fish because you can't see. Because it's so bright, you can't see past them. So I typically just use them for when I'm rummaging around my boat. There's something I need to do on the deck. I need to fix something. I need to change something. These lights really light up your deck. Now, I also put them, like I mentioned, in my storage compartments, and I wired those separately from the dimmer switch that controls the deck lights, because I didn't want necessarily to have one have to be on if the other was on. So I wired those to the accessory switch. The accessory switch came with the boat, but it was not in use. It wasn't connected to anything, so it was ready to be used for an accessory, and so that's what I did. So here is the accessory switch that came with the boat that I used to operate the storage compartment lights. And here is the dimmer switch that did not come with the boat that I installed that controls the deck lights. So you'll see I have a strip in my main storage compartment, and I have a strip in each rod locker. And these ones are great under the seats for accent lighting. And like I said, on the back deck. And I'll tell you what, when you need something lit up, those things are terrific. So there you have the bow deck. Rod locker, main storage compartment, rod locker. You have 2 cup holders here, and you have a step down, and inside the step is a pretty spacious cooler. Now I can fit a whole bunch of drinks in there and 20 pounds of ice pretty good. So I love that feature, having the cooler on board. So here's a little something I added, which are Rapala magnetic tool holders. So I can keep my scissors and pliers handy, and they are magnetic, so you stick them in and they stay in place. I really like those, so I added those. And next to that, I added the Hagen's hog trough for measuring hogs. So now we'll take a look at the instrument cluster. It's got a leather wrapped steering wheel. I love the steering wheel. It's very sturdy and it feels good. Feels good in your hand. We have a trim indicator, your tachometer, engine water pressure gauge, voltage gauge, speedometer, fuel. We have the accessory switch that I pointed out and the dimmer switch that I pointed out. And we have the fill and aerate and recirculate and aerate functions for the live well, which each come with 2 toggle positions of timer, where it comes on every 3 minutes, or continuous, where obviously it goes continuously. You have your horn, and on the left side of the steering wheel you have your ignition switch, your bilge pump, and your nav light and anchor light. So that's your instrument cluster. You have your throttle handle, which has a trim switch up and down, and obviously a kill switch. I mounted my fire extinguisher underneath here. I got plenty of room under there. Now you have the seats that are pretty quality seats. I really like them. They're comfortable. They look good. You have an oh crap handle here for someone who wants to sit in the middle seat here. And this middle seat, you know, and a couple of cup holders down there as well. And so underneath the middle seat is storage here and a removable panel there that gets you inside down to the bilge area. Then on the back deck we have storage on either side. One storage compartment on the starboard side and one of the same size on the port side of the boat. And all the storage compartments have drains in case water gets in there, so water drains into the bilge. Then you have your live well. So it comes with a 21-gallon live well. Got my live well net here. And clearly my live well could use a cleaning. You have your drains and your screen filter. You have your fill and aerate function and your recirculate and pump out function. I believe the pumps are 500 gallons a minute, so they're very sufficient as far as filling and emptying your live well. And the pump out feature on the recirculator is great because you can pump out the live well pretty quickly when you're done fishing. And it also comes with a divider. I don't have the divider handy, but you can slide a divider in here so you can divide your live well if you have a co-angler for a tournament and your fish can go on one side and his fish can go on the other. Now also on the live well, another upgrade is I added live well vents. These are VT2s, and I installed those, and there's a video on the installation of those. What those do is they allow heat and stale air to escape out of your live well, especially if you've got fish in there for extended periods of time. And hopefully, if they serve the purpose they're intended to serve, that gives your fish better longevity in the live well, should you need to keep them alive for a tournament. So also on the back deck, you have the battery and fuel tank compartment. I believe the fuel tank is 23 gallons. It's either 21 or 23 gallons, so it's a good sized fuel tank. And I have 2 batteries in here. You'll see that I have a lithium battery for my trolling motor, and I have a regular battery for my house battery, my cranking battery. There is a spot in there underneath to the right here for a 3rd battery. And one of the upgrades I plan to do is to replace my stock trolling motor with a 24-volt trolling motor with spot lock on it. And so I will need to install that 3rd battery in there to accommodate that once I do that. So you have your fuel fill your primer pump, and your wire harnessing on the aft deck. You have your anchor light port here. And of course you have your Mercury 4-stroke 60 horsepower wonderful engine. Now, one of the upgrades I did to my boat was I added a Minn Kota Talon shallow water anchor. So let's talk a little bit about the Talon. I added the Talon, and I'll tell you what, man, that thing is worth its weight in gold. That's one of those things where I figured I'm really not going to need that or want that. Is it worth the money to spend? Because I mean, they run about $1,500 for a 10-foot one. They come in different lengths. They come in 10, I think 12, I think 16. I'm not sure how big they come in, but I got a 10-foot one. And I'll tell you what, I use that every single time I am out fishing. It's got controls on the unit itself, so you can control it push button. You can put the anchor down, you can put it up, you can switch modes. It's got a light on it, and it's got modes for rough water and soft bottom on here. And you can also control it from a remote control that they provided with it when I got it, and it comes with a lanyard. You could keep it around your neck, but I didn't want it around my neck. I just don't like things around my neck. So what I did was I mounted it on my instrument cluster. It comes with this bracket here. So this is the remote, and this is the bracket that came with it. So I mounted the bracket here to the control panel, and it comes with screw holes, but I didn't want to mess with making holes in here, so I just glued it there, and it has stayed perfectly fine. And so I can control my Talon from here. So here's your Talon. Now it comes with a few features. So it comes with a kickstand here. Pull that out, and I bought the tilt bracket. So you push that down, and you can rest it on your deck. So if you have a height problem getting into a garage or someplace you want to put your boat that the fully vertical Talon, you know, has an issue with, where you're going to hit it, if you put the tilt bracket on, you can lay your Talon down. So what I got was this sandwich bracket, which is sandwiched, thus the name, between the motor and the transom. So that's why I didn't install this unit myself. The motor had to be removed. The bracket had to be placed in between the transom and the motor and sealed properly and mounted. And then this extension comes out to this piece here, which actually holds the Talon. And then, as I said, I got the tilt bracket. So the tilt bracket is on top of that bracket, which allows me to tilt it. And so you'll see that the Talon actually sits several inches away from the boat. And like I said, man, I'll tell you what, that Talon is worth its weight in gold. Whew. So glad I bought that. A lot of people have two of them, one on each side, which provides you more control. But I was told by Mercury, I called Mercury about adding the Talon, and they said they only recommend one on this transom for structural reasons. So I listened to them, and I only went with one, and I put it on the port side. Now, I have heard some people talk about adding a Talon to a tracker boat voids the warranty. So before I had this installed, I checked that out. I called Tracker, I called Mercury, and after quite a long process, I actually did speak to some human beings who had some idea what they're talking about. And the way they explained it to me is that there is no such thing as a warranty being voided per se. What they said is if you have a problem with your boat, and once they investigate that problem that you're making a warranty claim on, if it is determined that it was caused by having the Talon installed, then that wouldn't be covered. Mercury told me the very same thing. So I felt a lot more comfortable about that. So in a nutshell, adding a shallow water anchor to your boat doesn't void the warranty, so to speak. But if you have a problem or something breaks and it's because of that install you did of adding that shallow water anchor, then whatever that repair is won't be covered. So after I talked to them and they explained that to me, I was happy with that. I had the Talon installed. All right, so let's talk about electronics. The electronics that came with my Tracker TXW Pro Team 175 was a Lowrance Hook Reveal 5, which is a 5-inch screen, and it's a pretty high-speed unit, but I wanted something bigger. So I upgraded to the Lowrance HDS 9 units, and I added one to my console, and I put one on my bow as well. And I'll tell you what, these things are fantastic. In fact, I've only scratched the surface of their capabilities because, believe me when I tell you, I am no technological genius. But I'm starting to learn how to use them and use their functions. I'm pretty much a beginner when it comes to bass fishing as a boater. I've been bass fishing for decades as a co-angler on somebody else's boat and bank fishing and such, and fishing out of John boats where I didn't have electronics. So when it comes to having a bass boat and electronics, I'm pretty much a rookie. So I am learning that as I go now. And I'll tell you what, these Lowrance HDS live units are just terrific. I can't say enough about them so far, and again, I've only scratched the surface. They've got so much capabilities, so many modes and menus that you can go into. And I go to lakes now that I've never been to before, and so the charts are fantastic as far as reading the charts and knowing where you are on a lake and knowing the depths and the terrain and the hazards and things like that. They're expensive, believe me. But I'll tell you what, if you're going to be fishing tournaments, especially in different spots in the country, and especially on very large lakes, I predominantly fish small ponds and small lakes to the tune of 100 acres, 200 acres, 300 acres. But when you're on a 40, 50,000 acre lake, you're going to want electronics. So far I'm real happy with the Lowrance units I got. Again, I got the 9-inch HDS 9. I find that to be plenty big enough for me. A lot of people have 12, 16s. God bless you. So I got a 9 here. I got a 9 up front. So when I'm up on my trolling motor, I can have it readily available there. And that's another upgrade I did to the boat. I also did some other small upgrades, but some of them are pretty cool. For instance, this came with a 12-volt cigarette type charging port. I added a dual USB port. So now I have 2 USB ports in order to charge devices on the boat, and that I wired to the same accessory switch that controls my storage compartment lights. So I flip that toggle switch and my charging ports are on, and I can charge whatever I need to charge. So that's definitely a handy dandy little easy low dollar upgrade. All right, so that's a quick look at the 2021 Tracker Pro Team 175 TXW Bass Boat. I hope you enjoyed that video on the Tracker TXW Pro Team 175. Either if you're in the market for one, or if you're interested in the upgrades I did to my boat. You'll find links to most of the upgrades that I put on my boat in the description of the video below. You'll also find helpful installation videos for most of those products, and for the ones that we don't have videos for yet, those will be forthcoming. If you like that video, go ahead and hit the like button and the subscribe button. We really appreciate that, and we appreciate you being a part of Chicken Thigh Fishing. We'll see you next time, and until then, stay fishing, my friends.